Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning into my review for Oppenheimer. Before we jump into this review, I just want to go ahead and say thank you guys so much for all of your continued support on YouTube. My last video for the Barbie review got over 200 views, which is kind of insane for the channel. Thank you guys so much for getting me there. It's just made me very, very happy, and I'm looking forward to making even more movie reviews in the future. Let's go ahead and get to talking more about Oppenheimer. So I went into this movie really just kind of worried because I'm not really the most historical person ever. I did not know who the inventor of the atomic bomb was. I went into this very blind. Of course, I kind of learned a lot of the information I needed to know up through the marketing of this film. Meanwhile, everyone who I feel like on YouTube who has reviewed this movie, they had some consciousness of already knowing who Oppenheimer was already. Whereas I'm just like, I know about the Manhattan Project and just what an atomic bomb is, and that's really all I knew going into this movie. So I was very just scared that I might not be able to comprehend a lot of this film. Along with that, as well as the audio pass in this movie, the audio isn't the greatest. It's kind of a Christopher Nolan stamp of approval in his films. So much so, like with Tenet, it was almost unwatchable for me at some points, and I literally fell asleep. I don't fall asleep during movies, but with Tenet, I literally did fall asleep, and it's kind of scared me away from some of his other movies. Haven't really seen Interstellar. I saw the Dark Knight trilogy. Probably one of my favorite trilogies of all time. It was just a phenomenal series of movies, especially with the second one, with Heath Ledger's Joker. I went into this movie, of course, a little worried, a little scared. However, I felt like I was able to understand at least 70% of the movie, take a grasp as to what was going on, and my gosh, this movie just went on and on and on and on, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but my gosh, this movie was breaking like breakneck speeds. I thought I was gonna get whiplash watching this. These scenes that we watched throughout the film, it felt more like memories, very vivid memories. Now, I did see this on 70mm, not IMAX, although the highlights, they were very dreamy on film, which might have added to that whole illusion of watching almost like a memory unfold before me. But I do believe that plays into the film's benefits, that this film felt like a memory because this movie is a historical biopic, basically, and it is technically a memory to some people. It's a realistic take on what happened with the invention of the atomic bomb and how it affected the people who actually worked on it. Speaking of the people who actually worked on it, the characters throughout this film, they were so just energetic and lively and fun to watch on film. They were literally doing nothing but talking. There's not a lot of action in this movie. The only action you get to see in this movie are the the nude scenes. I'll just call them the nude scenes. That's really about it, other than, you know, the official bomb explosion. Yes, there is a bomb explosion in this movie. It's not real. It's all done camera effects. I don't think they actually exploded any real life bombs. Maybe something small, very minute, but they did not want to go ahead and, of course, you know, drop an atomic bomb just for the production of this movie. I don't think anyone would, in their right mind, ever do that. It's just a very hard film to swallow because of the historical presence. Because, I mean, just thinking about what they did to Hiroshima and the buildup of it, and the American culture, and the rise of basically communism within America, and all of this, it's a lot to swallow. It's a lot to take in. It's a very deep and dark film, and it really covers the basis of not only all of that, but Oppenheimer's upcoming as a student, as a scientist, as the father of the atomic bomb, and even so afterwards into his career, his personal life as well. And I think his personal life, for me, was something that was just mind-boggling, because in the beginning of this movie, I'm not going to go ahead and do any spoilers, by the way, but in the beginning of this movie, he does something so atrocious with one of his teachers, and it just really made me feel like, wait a minute, did this actually happen? I haven't actually looked it up yet, but I just wanted to know, did this actually happen? And if so, why are we rooting for this character? And then throughout the film, Oppenheimer's character just became more mad scientist-y, just very uncollected with society. He didn't seem to be fazed by really much of anything, and he was very much of a, how do I say this, like a cheater, basically. He slept with a lot of women, maybe not a lot, but he definitely did he hurt some, he broke some hearts. That's to say the least. But therefore, it's just like Oppenheimer. How am I supposed to get on board with supporting such a character, such a jerk? I don't care about this guy. He doesn't have any feelings, emotions. All he feels throughout this movie is sadness and regret. And of course, he should feel that way after what he did. Maybe not so much with the invention of the atomic bomb. You definitely kind of see where he was coming from before the invention, as it was happening, and then he kind of figures out about halfway through or so, like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't actually be doing this. But by that time, it's a little too late, too little. But yeah, no, it's just his whole journey was something that just dumbfounded me, because he was not a character I wanted to support. I wanted to support all the people, all the scientists that surrounded him. And it made me think, well, what if we did focus on those guys? Would they be exactly the same as him? Would they be just very uncollected from society, very distant from other people, and very almost, I want to say, narcissistic in a way? Because I believe that would be the case if we actually did focus on someone other than Oppenheimer. Speaking of the other characters in this movie, my gosh, is this cast just star-studded with a bunch of characters. I could probably make like an hour-long video just listing off all the names of the actors who were in this film. However, I'm not going to go ahead and do that, but Emily Blunt was probably one of my favorite performances, other than Cillian Murphy's character as Oppenheimer. So they both did such a fantastic job, as well as Florence Pugh. I thought her character was very intriguing, probably the most intriguing character in the film, and didn't have a lot of screen time, as well as Robert Downey Jr. He was also probably even more so. You kind of forget that he's one of these like really great actors just because of his past, and also just being Iron Man for X amount of years. You kind of forget that he is just a phenomenally good actor, and he did not phone it in with this movie, because of course this is a Christopher Nolan movie. Every single actor wants to work with this guy. He still likes to shoot on film. He believes in old traditional cinema. The guy doesn't even have a smartphone from what I've seen with interviews, which is just also crazy to me. And it's also something that I went into this film kind of worried about. This is a filmmaker who, yes, I did used to love, and I mean, I still love the movies that came out back then. They still hold up very, very well, especially Dark Knight, of course. Now, this is not a movie review about Dark Knight, but I'm just going to go ahead and point out, yes, I am probably a little bit biased towards those films out of his whole filmography. Christopher Nolan, I just don't know if he is a director that I care about as much anymore, because in terms of filmmaking, what I love about filmmaking is the overall storytelling aspect of telling a story and the characters and all of that, whereas I feel like Nolan is more of a purist filmmaker and more so cares about the experience on how you watch the movie and not what the movie is actually telling you. All the hype around the 70mm IMAX, just being able to watch it only in theaters, this is the best way to see it. If you see it on TVs, you're really underselling it. I don't really believe in that mentality whatsoever, because I believe in the aspects of filmmaking that are most important are in the writer's room. They are the stories that are being written and the stories that are also just created on screen. Of course, I don't, want to downplay the fact that everything that's on set is coming to life very beautifully, because it is. That is a very, very important aspect of filmmaking that I very much enjoy. I love being on sets. I love being behind the camera, not so much in front of the camera. That's why I kind of started this YouTube channel, because I like making videos. With all that being said, I just don't know if I can get on board with his mentality behind filmmaking anymore, because while walking onto this movie, I'm thinking, I didn't have to go see this film in 70mm. In fact, I don't think I had to go and see this movie at the cinema. I feel like I could have watched this at home, probably could have had a much better time watching at home as well, considering the movie is 3 hours long and I don't have to hold in my bladder. But yeah, no, I feel like this movie is more of an experience at home, where you can be more comfortable, where you can definitely enjoy the scenes a lot more. Maybe you missed some bits of dialogue, which at the theater, you obviously do. You can't rewind to be like, wait, hang on, what did that character just say, for the context that happens later throughout the movie, because some of this dialogue in this movie, it's very much important. It's super important as to what happens later, and yet some of it you can't really even hear, and it just dumbfounds me on how they let this kind of thing slide, especially for a movie with this caliber and this high of a director and all of these actors, this star-studded cast. It's insane to me that they allow for something so easily fixable to pass and be sent to the theaters for then us, the viewers, to watch and barely even listened to. Now, I am 28 years old. I don't have, the best ears or anything, but I believe I still have good enough ears to be able to hear this. Now, overall, what do I think about Oppenheimer? It's just, I feel like, honestly, this movie is just very, very much overhyped. That's not to say that this movie is not phenomenally made, phenomenally crafted. I mean, just the filmmaking, the storytelling, everything, the historical context, it's all so beautiful to take in. I was very excited going into this to learn about the context behind the atomic bomb, and that's exactly what I got. So of course, this movie gets an A+ for me because it goes in and does what it sets out to do, which is just very great, because a lot of films these days, they don't really do that. They kind of lose track of the message that they're trying to preach. Whereas Barbie, it's very much like a very straightforward message, and it's very surprising to see a lot of people actually upset about said message. You'd think that Oppenheimer would be the more controversial film of the year, but somehow it just turns out to be Barbie of all movies, which again, it's just very mind-boggling to hear about. It's just so weird. You don't think of Barbie as controversial compared to what Oppenheimer did in history. I don't think watching this film once, twice, even 3 times, you understand fully everything that the filmmaker is trying to tell you. You really have to sit there and be able to hear everything and take it all in, and then link it to maybe scenes that happen, I don't know, an hour and a half later into the film, and be like, oh, that's what he meant earlier on in the film, and how it leads up to this moment, and why this moment is so much more impactful because of now this very beginning shot in the film, such as the scene where Oppenheimer talks to Albert Einstein. You don't really fully understand the context until the film concludes, and my gosh, the words that he says at the end, I'm not gonna spoil it, it just ends on a very, very just bleak note. It's a struggle, it's a dark message, it's a very timely message, and I think it's a message that we can take and learn from, which is also something I can appreciate about this movie, is that it gives us something to chew on after the fact, and my gosh, I'm still chewing on it. I wanted to do this review after I saw the movie, and I thought to myself, no, I'm gonna give myself about a day to actually take this in and think about it, and definitely chew on it a little bit more. Overall, yes, I very much enjoyed this movie, and I do believe it is a great experience to go out to the movies and watch this film. It's gonna be historical for sure. I mean, Barbenheimer itself is a historical event in of itself. So yeah, go ahead and check out both movies at the theater if you are able to. It's a really fun time. Maybe not a double feature, because then you're gonna be at the theater for 7 to maybe 8 hours with commercials. Yeah, it was just a very, very great time, and I'm very excited to see this movie again. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like down below. Also, if you guys like movie reviews, be sure to check out this video or this video right here. I'm gonna be reviewing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles as well as Haunted Mansion in the upcoming weeks, so be sure to look out for those videos. Otherwise, my name's Austin, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.